Hey. Remember how excited I was for Chicago deep dish pizza that turned out kind of blah, you know? Anyway, I ordered this a month ago, 1 month ago. It finally came today. It's gonna be way more exciting than Luminati pizza. Hang on. Way better than Luminati's. Two massive Prince Street pies. So this will be 4 slices per pie. I mean, it is not cheap, but God, I miss this so much. It looks like they already cooked it. So what am I? This is already cooked. It's definitely not raw, which is kind of a shame. Well, let's see how it goes. Pizza and story time, breakfast tomorrow. See you then. Good morning. Here it is. Prince Street Pizza, my favorite pizza place in New York City. It's not cheap. I spent like, I think $120 for 2 pies. So this is 1 pie and this is 1 pie. 2 pies. Now what's kind of puzzling me is there's no instructions anywhere on how to heat this up. I don't think. I looked in the box and there was definitely no instructions. So I can only hope there's something here. Look at all that pepperoni. Wow. Wow. So there's no instructions on how to heat this up. Wow. I'm gonna have to Google how to heat up frozen pizza, but this is so very New York of them. I mean, if you go to this place in Manhattan, and this goes for most pizzerias in New York, the people are not gonna be the kindest to you, so you better know what you want when you get in there. And I could just kind of imagine them going, cooking instructions? Get out of here with that. You think I got cooking instructions when I opened this pizza place? So yeah, a bit of New York attitude sent across the country. All right, let me figure out how to do this and we're gonna eat some pizza. Oh, and today is not a scary story time, but I have a scary story that's a continuation of the last scary story video that I really wanna tell here. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so oven 425, about 20 minutes. Oh, fits perfectly, like it belongs in here. Little curvy pepperoni that contains that tiny little drop of spicy oil. That is the best part. And they load it up with pepperoni just like I remembered it. Oh my God, this is so glorious. Got my pizza cutter. Listen to this. If you don't think I can eat all this, then you don't really know me that well. That's what I'm talking about. You see that little spicy oil in the middle of that pepperoni cup? This is the best part of the pizza. Little crispy pepperonis. Deep dish pizza, this is way thicker than what I got from Luminati's, right? And this dough, trust me, it may look thick, but it will melt in your mouth. Oh man, I never thought I would be able to get this here, and this took 1 month. I ordered this 1 month ago. That might just be one of the happiest pizza bites in my life. This dough, see how airy that is? Once you break through that outside layer, whether it's through an intense crunch on the crust or the subtle crunch that's from the bottom, the dough touches your tongue and it melts like you caught a pizza flavored snowflake. I like this dough almost as much as I like the topping. You cannot find pepperoni like this at Domino's. Curvy, again, with that little bit of spicy oil inside. You know that cup of life that Ricky Martin was singing about? This is it. I've had pizza all around the world. If you made me choose one right now, best pizza I ever had in my life, Prince Street. Again, it's not cheap. If you go to Prince Street, one of these slices will set you back $3.50. Also, if you never tried it before, hot oil on a pizza. Spice on spice is always nice. And I know typically what I would do is I'll get into the stories and then I'll kind of neglect my food because I have problems talking and chewing at the same time. This though, let me have my way with it. I'll be back. Oh, that was much needed. This should be able to get me through the stories. Like I said, this is not a scary story video. I was gonna talk about actually some stuff that happened in China. It's really crazy, like Korean drama-esque stuff that happened in China. But before I do that, I really wanna tell one scary story that I have to tell it today because it's a continuation of the video I just published. So remember the last video I just published, the scary story video, talked about different urban legends. I couldn't sleep at night. Like, I was thinking about it, and people kept asking me about like the girl in the elevator, like what exactly happened to her. Obviously, nothing good happened to her, but I was just thinking about it, and I came up with another narrative in regards to that story. So I want to tell it from the perspective of the hot guy who entered the elevator. Kind of pulling a Twilight move right here, huh? Hopefully you got some food in front of you. Here we go. Cue the spooky music. So there's this guy, he's in his early 20s, and he seems to have his entire life in order. He has a great job, he's devilishly handsome, he's immensely popular at work with his friends. Whenever he goes out, he just gets constant attention. It seems like this is the perfect guy with the perfect life. He's rich, he dresses nice, everything about him just screams success. But that's the problem. He loves the screams. Maybe he just had everything handed to him in life too easily. Maybe he had a traumatic childhood. Maybe he's a few fries short of a Happy Meal. We don't know. But he would often stalk his victims, usually young female. Often he would trap them in a situation where they know their ultimate end is coming, but there's nothing they could do about it. He loved that sort of control, that terrifying, hopeless feeling he gives his victims before he ultimately, stabs them with his chopsticks. Or whatever he uses. So one day after work, he steps out of his office and he sees a pretty girl that walks by him, and that caught his attention. So he started following her. He followed her all the way to her apartment building, and when she opened the front door with her key, he slipped in before the door could fully close. And right as her elevator door was closing, he slipped his hand in at the last moment, forcing it to open. And when she saw him, the reaction is similar to many reactions of people when they see him for the first time. She smiled. Good, he thought. Let your guard down. So he smiled, made some small talk, asked what floor she's on so he could push the button for her. And he had a plan already formed in his head. Whatever floor she was gonna get off at, he was gonna get off at the floor before her, tell her exactly what he plans to do, then run up the stairway so she can be terrified when the elevator door opens. So when he asked what floor she was on, she said 13. So he told her he lived on the 12th floor. He then pushed the 12th and 13th floor button and waited. When the elevator door opened on the 12th floor, he slowly walked out. Then right before the door closed, he looked at her and said menacingly as he pulled out a giant knife hidden underneath his coat, "I'll see you upstairs." He laughed like a maniac and started running to the stairwell as the door shut on the elevator. He knew she must be panicking right now with no way to stop the elevator before her ultimate end. As he ran up that one flight of stairs, he raced to the elevator door, not wanting to miss one single second of her terrified expression. But the door never opened. Crunchy. If I was gonna die, I'd be okay if this is my last meal. Knock on some wood. If you don't see this video, I just cursed myself. But he was really confused. What happened to the elevator? There was no elevator stop button doing this, so she couldn't have stopped the elevator. So he pushes the elevator button. And after a minute, the elevator shows up, the door opens, but there was no one inside. Now he was really confused until he took a look at the floor number right by the elevator door, and it said 14. Oh my God, what a dumb serial killer, right? He like ran up 2 flights of stairs. I mean, if you're gonna choose this horrible profession, at least get it right. That's what ran through his mind. So he goes back to the stairwell and goes down 1 floor. But then he realized that was the 12th floor. He did only go up 1 flight of stairs, but it was 12 and then 14. There was no 13th floor, even though he clearly remembers pushing the button for the 13th floor. At that point, he thought he was going crazy. I mean, crazier than he already was. So he wasn't just a few fries short of a Happy Meal. The fries were gone, the toy was gone, the burger was gone. He was walking around with a cup of water. So he goes downstairs, and as he was walking out of the building, he saw an old man walk in, and he asks him, "Excuse me, is there a 13th floor in this building?" And the old man looks at him, frowns, and said, "How did you know?" "But it's not around anymore." He told him that the owners of the building were very superstitious after a young girl jumped to her death from the 13th floor. The owner thought the number 13 was very unlucky, so he got rid of the number. So now it only goes from 12th floor to 14th floor. So now the building doesn't have a 13th floor. Again, still very confused, the young man walks out of the building and goes home. But he managed to kind of rationalize in his head, maybe I got the number wrong. Maybe she somehow managed to slip her hand right before the elevator door closed and got out on the 12th floor. That's it. That must be what happened. But it's okay though. She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know where I live. There's no way she can even go to the police. So he was satisfied with his logical explanation of everything that happened that day. So he got dressed for bed as usual and turned off the lights. All of a sudden, he hears a knock at the door. He goes to the door, looks through the peephole. No one there. But then he hears a voice, and it sounded very familiar. He definitely heard the voice before, and he remembered. It was the girl from the elevator. And then the voice said, close your eyes and count to 100. Even the crust is good on this pizza. Like this part that people sometimes throw away. That's my revamped version of 2 urban legends in one. Like I was thinking about all this stuff like last night. This is what I think about when I'm laying in bed. And I'm like, whoa, what if this happened? And of course I have to change a couple of things around. Anyway, back to the real story I was gonna tell today. I wanted to tell you guys about some of the stuff that happened in China. It's like crazy stuff that happened in China. So like 2 years spent over there, almost every single week, something insane happened to me. Just from the cultural shock and some of the, let me just get into a couple of things that happened. So when I first got to China, I remember you remember the whole thing, like I was trying to go be a ninja in Japan, that didn't work out. So my layover was in Shanghai. I could only write my name in Mandarin. I couldn't write anything else. So I go to Shanghai, we had to transfer to Beijing. I couldn't transfer because we were supposed to go through customs in Shanghai, and I couldn't fill out the customs form. They wouldn't let you fill it out in English at the time. So some guy had to help me fill out the custom form. So get to Beijing. I'm staying with my aunt and uncle, and I meet them for, well, essentially it's the first time in my life, right? Because when I left, I was still such a young kid. I barely remember them too well. So I meet them and I'm staying with them, and I remember them. My first cultural shock moment was they took me to a restaurant, and this was in Beijing. Like this was kind of like in the outskirts, and I wanted to go to the bathroom. So they're like, yeah, there's a public bathroom right by the restaurant. This is kind of gross. So I go to the public bathroom and I do my business, and I'm trying to wash my hand. I'm like, where's the sink to wash my hand? There was no sink, but there was like containers of like foamy water right by the door. So I'm like, oh, that's where you wash your hands, right? So I'm about to stick my hand in there. I'm like, wait, something's wrong. It's a little too foamy. Yeah, it was pee. That was barrels of pee right by the door. Would have been like one of the most traumatic moments of my life if I stuck my hand in. That would not have been good. Sorry, I told you that was kind of gross. But anyway, so we go to Xi'an, and Xi'an, I'm living in this place. I told you there's no heat, no hot water. We had heat. We had to burn coal. So every week, like some guy will come by and bring us like coal, actual coal. And we will burn that, and then like at night, obviously it will go out and it'll be freezing again. So in the wintertime, you just wear your entire coat, you dress fully before you go to bed. So the next day, when it's the coldest in the morning, you don't have to get up and change or take anything off. Horrendous conditions, but got used to it. So the school I enrolled at was the 43rd school in Xi'an, and it was a very local, very poor school. So there was no like international teachers. It was like teachers speaking in accents that I barely understood, like a Shanxi accent. Like if you don't know Chinese dialects, it's very different from area to area. So if I speak pure Mandarin, like just pure Mandarin, 你好，我是陈星. And that's what most of the people speak in China. It's very easy to understand. But you go to these like provinces, and especially you run into individuals who might be older, they speak with a very heavy accent. So a Shanxi accent, the province where I'm from, is crazy. If you're not used to it, like you can still understand it, but it's tough. So for example, in Mandarin, if I say my name is Chen Xing, I'll be like, 我叫陈星. Like in Shanxi dialect, it'd be like, 我叫陈醒. Like it's so different. 50% of my teachers spoke like that, and I'm just like, what? I thought I spoke Mandarin. What happened? But anyway, it was crazy because when I get there and everyone's treating me like a foreigner, and I talked about this. So people will come up and they will ask for money because they would think I'm rich because I'm from America, where they ask me if I know Michael Jordan because my name is also Michael. So a lot of these crazy stereotypes, but it got pretty dangerous to the point where like people legit, like local gangs came up to me asking for money. And if I didn't pay them the money, they were gonna mess me up. So for a while, my family had to come and pick me up from school every day. And I had hidden chains in my pocket as a form of self-defense, because in China, like what happens is from middle school to high school, for example, when I got to China, I was in like the 8th grade and my class had 65 people. By 9th grade, my class had 30 people. So about over half the class would either drop out to pursue like a technical career or become like a security guard or join the army, join the military, or they would become local hoodlums that would just hang out outside of the school and they harass students and they ask for money. So there's a lot of these local gang connections. It's really crazy in China. And they get into fierce fights. Like in China, they get into fights where literally swords will come out and they start hacking at each other. It's just the most insane thing. So when I was threatened by this, I was like, oh my God, like this is really serious. So my family had to come and pick me up from school every day. The reason I'm telling you this is to establish the fact that these local gangs, they're a real thing. They're a real thing and they are a definite threat and they are dangerous. So there will be some students, right, who are still connected to these gangs. Like for example, there'll be girls who may be dating the gang leaders that still go to our school. So nobody mess with these girls. Nobody mess with them. It was very clear that if you mess with them, bad things can happen to you. Anyway, so I start school and I get to know everybody and I notice that there's this girl that's really, really cute. But in China during that time, it's crazy. Like when you like someone, you don't say anything until you're ready to graduate. Then you like hit them a letter. And then if they accept you, then you got to figure out like how this is going to work because now we might go to different schools. We might live in different cities. But if they reject you, it's fine because you're leaving anyway. Like who cares? So I thought this girl was cute. I didn't do anything about it for like a year and a half. So a year and a half later, I was about to leave school and go back to the US in about like 4 months. And she gets into a relationship with another guy. So I'm like, all right, okay, never mind. All right, whatever. And this guy's a horrible guy. Not just saying that, he's really not. And he hung out with 2 other people in my class. Again, within these 2 years, a lot of other stuff happened. I'm just telling you about this one incident. It's pretty crazy. So after they were dating for about 2 weeks, it was more like they weren't even like really seriously dating. It was like let's see if we like each other. And she didn't like him, so she ended it. So she was single again. And then about a month later, so 3 months before I was supposed to leave the country, I get a note one day during study hall. We will have these study sessions after school from like 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. It's really crazy. Like we went to school in China from like 7 a.m. till like 10 p.m. 6 days a week. And then this was right before Gaokao, which is like the high school entrance exam. So I get a note and it's from her and she's like, I like you. I liked you for a long time. Would you like to be my boyfriend? So of course I'm like, oh heck yeah, all right, cool, that's awesome. And of course the guy she dated for like those 2 weeks, like he wasn't happy. Class was dismissed. I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, 3 guys approached me. The guy that she was dating and his 2 friends, they approached me. They sat next to me. All of a sudden, 3 of them started just punching me. One of them grabbed the table leg, smacking me in the back. One of them grabbed a chair, like a bench chair, like a wooden bench chair, was about to drop it on my head, and then one of my friends stopped him. This is the first fight I ever got into in my life. Like, I mean, it wasn't like the first fight, but it was definitely the worst, like craziest fight I ever got into my life. And I'm a pretty tough guy. Like at this point, I was doing martial arts every day. I was strong. So I took one of them and just pushed him across the room. I fought out the other guy. And then all 3 of them just like, they left. They just left the classroom. I'm furious because I'm like, why are they attacking me? What's up with that? Why are they attacking me? And no one knew the answer. Then the next day, I get a message from one of the local gang's leaders' girlfriend that goes to another class. Like someone actually came, like this was like, I don't know, super anime-esque. Someone came and delivered a message to me and was like, if you don't give her 1,000 yuan and apologize to this guy who beat you, then they're gonna basically, I don't know, like end me or whatever they do in China, drop me into a hot pot pit or something. I don't know exactly what was gonna happen to me, but I knew it was bad. This was a real situation. This was like DEFCON 5 or whatever the highest, most dangerous DEFCON was. Everyone was like, okay, all right, you can't go after those 3 who beat you because they're now protected. They're under the protection of her. So you can't do anything to them. So now you have to think of a way to either give the money, apologize, or you have to go find your own gang to fight her gang. Like this is 100%, like I'm not even embellishing a single bit of this. It's insane. They were like, this is a real situation. You could get killed. So my classmates had to walk me home in a circle several times a day for that week just to make sure there was no preemptive strike and no one was out to get me. Then my best friends at the time, they came to me, they were like, you gotta find another gang that's as powerful as this gang and have them come and help you. You have to do this. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is really happening? Can't we just go to the police or something? They're like, no, this is what you have to do. Fortunately, one of my friends back before I left China, he turned out to be a big gang leader. Like, I heard about it when I came back to China, but I didn't know. So I went to him. So he lived like 2 hours bike away or something. That's how we measured distances back in China. Well, not now, but like back when we used to ride bikes everywhere. So I rode my bike for 2 hours and I met up with him and I'm like, hey man, I need some help. There's this gang and like this. So I explained to him the situation. He was like, all right, I'll get you 100 guys. Like, I'm not even kidding. He's like, I'll get you 100 guys and go with you. All right. And as long as you throw the first punch, we got your back. So we'll take 100 people. We'll go meet them in a full-out gang war. Like I'm like, is this really gonna happen? Like, I cannot even believe this might be a possibility. He was dead serious. He was like, you gotta be committed. He's like, we all gotta ride like our bikes 2 hours to get to you, so you gotta be committed. I'm gonna bring 100 people. So I'm like, all right, okay, let this be option J, okay? Let me see if there's any way else to diffuse this, and then I'll get back to you, but we'll keep this as a backup option. And then I was like, what's the price for this? He was like, no, it's fine, you're my friend. And then afterwards, just take everyone out for food or buy everyone a beer or something. So I come back with the promise of 100 dudes who's willing to go into battle with me against this other gang. And I come back, and apparently, another one of my really close friends in my class, this is where like love triangle started to happen. I told you, really K-drama-esque. The gang leader's girlfriend has a crush on him. So he was one of my best friends. So he goes and speaks to her for me. And he didn't want to do this because he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with her, but you're my best friend, so I'm going to do this. So he goes and speaks to her and he's like, all right, so I talked to her and here's what's going to happen. You don't need to pay the 1,000 yuan. And you don't need to apologize to the guy. Now what you must do is go and apologize to the gang leader's girlfriend. I don't even know how I wronged her. I have no idea. So I have to go apologize to her and then promise that I will never touch the 3 guys who attacked me. So that's what I did. I literally had to go to like, this is like a mob sit down or something. I had to go and she had like a security staff in the front like of her door. Like, I can't remember where we went. It was her house or something like that. So I went in and I apologized to her. I was like, hey, I don't know how I offended you, but I'm sorry that I did. I don't want this to escalate any further. And I promised, I was like, I'm not gonna, retaliate against these guys. I don't know why they attacked. And then she told me, she's like, well, they attacked you because the guy who was dating your current girlfriend, he thought you messed with their relationship while they were dating. I did not, but that's why he attacked you. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. It didn't even hurt. Like, he punched like a raccoon. So like, it didn't really hurt. So like, whatever. I threw one across the room. I punched the other one. I'm good. I don't need to take vengeance or anything like that. I don't need to be like Inigo Montoya or something. That was settled. That was like done. So we're past it. And then I'm finally dating this girl. So again, I'm leaving China in a few months. So we're dating, and dating back in China is like really like weird. It's not like now where you meet up for coffee somewhere or whatever. Back then it was like she would have a friend chauffeur her to where I was, and the friend would just be like waiting in the next room till we're finished with our date, which is really just, we drink some tea together or we watch a movie together, and that's it. Like, you just do that, and then the friend picks her back up, and then it's really weird. So we did that for a few months, and then I leave. What happened afterwards was I go back to China, and we had a long distance relationship for 6 years after that. Like, for 6 years after I went back to the US, like, we were still dating, and I was fully committed. I was like, maybe I watched a little too much Chinese dramas or whatever. And before I left, I was like, wait for me. For 10 years, I'll come back in 10 years and we'll get married. And then credits should roll because that's the lamest K-drama ever. I meant that. So I went back to China and we would write each other. And back then, keep in mind, this is like freaking 96 or something. So there was no text messaging. You can't call each other because it was like so expensive. It was too expensive to call. There's no email at the time. Can you imagine? I lived in a time where there's no email. So we would have to write letters, physical letters, and it takes 10 days for one letter from me to get to her and 10 days for one letter from her to get to me. So in a span of a month, we would have like 3 correspondences, and we kept that up for 6 years. Like, now think about it, it's insane. Like, if some people, you don't talk to someone like in a day, you go crazy, you're just like, I'm done. 6 years, I had that long distance relationship where we only wrote letters. I still have all the letters. It was hundreds of letters. I have a drawer full of letters back in my parents' old house. And that's why I didn't date in high school. That's why I didn't date halfway through college. Like, I had a this relationship girlfriend in China for 6 years, and we corresponded through letters. And we would write like 3-4 pages each time. Like, we would talk about, like, I don't know, whatever dramas on TV, argue over that. Like, it would just be like a normal conversation, except it just take a bloody long time. Anyway, that ended, obviously, and if you're curious how that ended, like, she wrote me a letter one day. She was like, hey, my friends convinced me that this is going nowhere, so I went on a date, but then I realized actually I still love you, so I still want to keep this going. And then I was like, well, maybe it is too hard, so let's just end it. It was kind of funny was that throughout, like, the time that I'd known this girl, her name kept changing because in China, like, girls will pick their own names in English. So she started off as Heidi, and then it went to Julia. And then, like, halfway through our correspondence through letters, it went to Julie. I'm just glad she wasn't one of those girls that, like, named themselves after really stupid things. Like this one girl in China named herself Refrigerator. I don't know. Like, I love my refrigerator too. I would never name myself after that. I have a personal friend named Sofa. And this other girl who, like, really loved Disney, so her named herself Cinderella. So I'm glad it wasn't one of those. But anyway, this was one of the craziest things that happened to me in China, was that whole involved with almost a gang war and had to negotiate for my life. Like, it's crazy. And that type of thing happens so many times to me in China. Like, I'll tell you guys another time about my mugging, my almost getting murdered. Like, it's just insane. See, this is what happens. Like, I'm glad I ate the pizza before. See, I kept talking, I just ignored the 2 pieces of pizza. As lovely as they look. Oh, one more thing. Guess what came in the mail today? So a lot of people have been asking about my plushies. So this is the dumpling plushie that we sold out of. We are making more. I switched to a new merchandising company, so they're making it. This is just something I got from a vending machine in Japan. And I got it for someone that I still haven't given to him yet. So the penguin's here. This just came out. Dumpling slippers. This, I gotta say, this is amazing. You're gonna love this, whoever gets this. It's not on sale yet, and it's probably not gonna be on sale for another month or so, but this is, look at this. This is so cool. I can't wait to make this available. And we are gonna make this in kid sizes. I know a lot of people message me saying I don't have any kids merchandise. We are gonna make this in kid sizes too, but look out for that. That's gonna be so awesome. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. See you later.